to ask people to stop and think. I put so much up on YouTube. I put about my kidnapping, and the mind control murders, running in a political campaign, and being flown out to Larry Flint's. When Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald's plane was shot down because it was a passenger plane and it veered into Russian airspace. McDonald was one of the cases I wrote about in my book that never got published. They tried to kill me, and I should have died, really. I was transported across the state line to Huntsville, Alabama, illegally in the condition I was in, April of 80. Had a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. Well, it ended up that in late 83, I found out I'd been kidnapped from Buckingham Palace. And the whole horrid kidnapping me, and my uncle helped do it. And I'm getting into things that I've put up before, illegal George VI, and thus Elizabeth is illegal. And she doesn't even bother to mention me. Heck, she doesn't have to say anything, just use my money and sell out my country, which she's done. Now then, the Rockefellers, Bilderbergers were part of it, and Kennedy clan, who Joseph Kennedy, the old dad, was appointed ambassador to England during that time, 36 till 45, and they kicked him out. They took down my father, Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Simpson. That was a double that married her, a lookalike, an imposter that they used back in those days, was used, I guess, supposedly for security reasons. In this case, they took down my father. He was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe, American. Now then, what's wrong with the picture? I was doing, before I found out about my kidnapping, I was doing the medical malpractice book. It was about mind control. That's the mechanism used, and I'm not going to go through this again. I'm going to ask you what's wrong with the picture. But first I'm going to go back, because mind control can be used, and it's so advanced now, they can do mass murders, mass armies, and what else, I don't know. How far have they gone? And who, I was told by one FBI agent that somebody's got to be sitting at the top, because it's a war on mind, with using mind control. Who's got who on the chessboard? So, Dorothy Kilgallen, I just Googled her, so you can Google her. I was trying to make sure of the time. I believe, I didn't write it down, she was programmed to kill herself. She said she had the link to the Kennedy killing, and I'm going to start showing you this now. Remember, whether you care or not, and most people don't, that the Kennedys have kidnapped me, and the torture and all of this. Here he's supposed to be Vision for Mental Health. Well, here his daughter is ambassador to Japan. Remember, Japan was bombed. Now then, and this is the young man that, because he tried to tell about national security involved, he's in Russia. Now, I'm not going to go through all that again. I'm just going to say Dorothy Kilgallen was a famous columnist, and I believe she was on Password and What's My Line, etc., so she was well known. She suddenly come up and said that, and she was an older lady, that she had the link to the Kennedy assassination. Well, mind control's used in that one, too. And suddenly this woman who's it was first said she died of a heart attack. Then they said she suddenly had a bout, I guess, of mental illness and overdosed and killed herself. Well, you all know, if you even bother to think, the New World Order's the ones that kidnapped me. I said that Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Bilderbergers, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the global government that's in place now, when they kidnapped me, they inserted the UN, which is the United Nations, and the global government. They're using it. And they're in charge of the banking and all that. The Rothschilds, my money, by the way. I'm going to show you these. I was writing about mind control murders. Larry Flint was shot. He flew me out there. I'm not going to go into that again. The person was programmed to shoot him. Anybody can look it up. The murders I've told about were deliberately done in patterns. So my question to you is, there's a whole lot that you'll never know if mind control was used. You can use it to program mass armies and everything right now. So radicalization or mind control? Think about it. So what was I going to say? The question I wanted to ask is these mass murders, they don't have to be mass. They can be like Jens Orings and Elizabeth Hasem, a butcher knife he's in prison for. He's a German diplomat's son, or his dad was a diplomat. I believe his mother's dead now. And Elizabeth Hasem, the University of Virginia students. And everybody around here knows that they were programmed. But anyway, I've put all this up. My question that I wanted to ask everybody, if anybody watches this, did all these people who are mentally ill somehow just shoot up out of a period of time over how many years? I mean, back when I was aware of it was the Texas Tower at the college, the shootings. So you got the Columbine, I could go on and on. You got Sandy Hook, where he was programmed to kill his mother and shoot the kids. He's a victim himself, whether you like to believe it or not, unless it happens to your kid. This is James Holmes. Where are all your doctors in this? Well, I don't know. They're busy giving him psychotic drugs. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. It's a scapegoat. And believe you me, background checks don't work. And you start sending your kids, because the government is telling you to, that these are all mentally ill. That's a lie. These are programmed. Has nothing to do with it. And to misdiagnose and to feed people psychotic drugs is the sickest thing I've ever heard of. You talk about torture. So I'm going to show this man, because the Virginia Tech next door to me, mass murders, 33. He was programmed to shoot himself. The Giffords, Gabby Gifford, the twins, she's married to Kelly, Scott Kelly, and his brother, or twin, well, she's married to, it's my son's name, and this is not funny, any of it. Mark and Scott Kelly, they're twins, and Mark's married to Gabby Gifford, and Scott's up on the, he's up in space. Go look for it yourself. This is Larry Flynn, of course. I was flown out there, and he said I knew who was responsible for his shooting. This is really he's from the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union. This is the Boston Marathon. They're totally programmed. You got them dead, one's been tried, and this man, by the way, he's psychiatrist Fort Hood. He's on death row, I believe. He finished college at Virginia Tech, where the mass shootings took place. He was born in right here in Vinton, Roanoke. So I guess I've taken you over some of them. Now I wanted to get into the Kennedy. It seems okay with everybody that Kennedy kidnapped me. They did, and the horror and horrific crimes that were committed ongoing against me. A monarch, and Edward VIII's my dad. He didn't marry Wallace Simpson. I'll say it again. He married Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, American from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to Georgia O'Keefe. Now then, if I can keep this in tow, I'm trying to get it done before the video goes off. That Dorothy Kilgallen died in 1965. You can Google it, and it pretty much tells you about the lies told and everything. She was a columnist that worked for, well, she was on Password and all those game shows, but she was a famous columnist. And there, just before she died, she said she had the link to the Kennedy assassination, and that it was in her safe. Well, suddenly, and I just Googled it again to make sure, suddenly she was supposed to have died of a heart attack. Then Dorothy Kilgallen was supposed to, after her being an older woman and sane all these years, suddenly up and had mental illness and caused her to overdose. Read it for yourself. And mental illness is being blamed for all this, and they're putting all this money into ATF, FBI, the agency.